Welcome to Wasabi Interviews, episode 2. My name is Antonio Vega. This episode is going to be audio only, but if you do want to check out episode 1, that one is one of our video interviews. I highly recommend you do so. It is with Derek Fabian of 7 Sketches. He's done 2 of our covers for Wasabi Magazine, as well as tons and tons of really, really great, interesting, fun art. You can go check that out on the Wasabi YouTube channel. You should go ahead and subscribe while you're there so you don't miss any future interviews that we do. This episode is with someone who needs no introduction to anybody who lived here in Hawaii. It is Chef Alan Wong, the man behind Alan Wong's Honolulu on King Street. Of course, if you live here in Honolulu, you've seen that restaurant many, many times. Maybe you even dined there. And Chef Alan Wong is just, well, he's an extremely influential, important, respected figure in the Hawaii regional cuisine world, which you're going to get to learn more about in this interview. We did this interview in the same building where Alan Wong's Honolulu is, in his personal office. It was a wonderful, wonderful conversation. And we talked a few months ago specifically for an article that we ran in the February-March 2020 issue of Wasabi Magazine. It was a great article written by Sean Ibarra. So you can go check that out. I'm going to include a link in the description for the digital issue, and you can check out that article there. But this interview, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of other stuff, actually, that was not in the article, including some of Chef Alan's influences, such as travel. He's been to Peru and actually learned quite a bit while living in Peru. I had to ask him about Peru because my family is from Peru, so I love talking about Peruvian food. But we also talk about his experiences in Japan, because he did have a restaurant in Japan as well. And quite a few other things, including his career and some other funny stories that he tells. It was just a really, really fun conversation that I had with him. I hope you enjoy this. And here we go. Here's my conversation with Chef Alan Wong. So I was reading, I think it's pretty well known, your mom is originally from Japan, and then you came to Hawaii when you were like 5 years old. So how did that come about? Was your dad in Japan? They met there?
My dad was in the U.S. Army.
Mm-hmm.
And he met my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was born in Tokyo.
Mm.
That is correct.
Mm-hmm. And so they met, and then your mom and I believe you and your sister ended up coming back to Hawaii, right? While your dad was still in the military?
Yes.
Mm.
My mom, myself, and my sister Beverly,
Mm-hmm.
we came to Hawaii in 1961.
Mm.
And we initially stayed at our grandparents' house, my dad's parents' house.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you have much in terms of memories from your time in Japan? I know you left pretty young, but is there anything that kind of stuck with you?
I remember Hokkaido.
Oh, really?
My mom was, part of her childhood was on living on Hokkaido.
Oh.
Because my grandfather, her father,
Mm-hmm.
was a doctor, a surgeon.
Mm.
And so they actually moved him to Hokkaido.
Oh.
And so we went to go see where she grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And see the actual house where the clinic was.
Wow.
Where her father was taking care of all the patients.
Uh-huh.
And Hokkaido is a different experience. You don't think
yeah.
like you're in Japan.
Yeah.
Beautiful experience, beautiful country. They have dairy.
Mm-hmm.
They make wine there.
Mm-hmm.
Things like potatoes and corn,
Mm-hmm.
are good from there. But
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite memories of Hokkaido was walking into a shack.
Mm-hmm.
And they had like the live king crabs.
Oh,
and
wow.
you pick one. You sit down. They put butcher paper on the table. They steam it for you.
Uh-huh.
You order a pitcher of beer, and
Oh my God.
when it's done, you just go for it.
Yeah.
That was wonderful.
Oh,
Because
wow.
it came from the area,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was delicious, and even the beer is delicious, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Because it's from the area. It comes from Japan.
Yeah.
Simple things like that.
Right.
Know.
Well, I mean, I think Japan is extremely good about each prefecture, each city, each area has its own thing that they're known for, right? And it can be everything from sweets to fish to meat to whatever it is, but they're extremely good about creating those local famous things, right?
Yes, if you go back 30 years and beyond,
Mm-hmm.
and you wanted to learn about Japanese cooking,
Mm-hmm.
or for that matter, Italian cooking or Chinese cooking,
Mm-hmm.
you would buy a book on Japanese cooking,
Mm-hmm.
or Italian cooking or Chinese cooking.
Right.
today you can find books in different regions of the place.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could go buy a book on the cuisine of Bologna in Italy,
Mm-hmm.
or in China they have divided them into the regions,
Mm-hmm.
Sichuan, Hunan,
Mm-hmm.
and by location. The same in Japan,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
and that to me is fascinating because
Yeah.
wherever you go, you look for the local ingredients, right? Well, I
Exactly.
do,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm looking for local shoyu,
Mm-hmm.
local sake, local beer, of course,
Yeah.
and the local ingredients,
Yeah.
especially the things that they're famous for,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think the Japanese are one of the few cultures that when they do something, they do it the same way over generations and generations.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
recently went to Japan and had oyako donburi
Oh,
at
yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
famous place,
Mm-hmm.
and the chef came out and he reminded us that the restaurant, he was the 8th generation,
Yeah.
was older than the United States of America.
yeah.
Amazing, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
When they
yeah.
do something, they do it well, they keep doing it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know?
I mean, through this job, I've gotten to meet like people have been doing sake breweries for like I don't know 1,000 years. It's amazing.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Or you go to one place because you like the unagi don,
yeah,
It's that kind of place.
yeah, yeah, yeah. yeah. No, I mean Japanese food. I could talk on and on. But so, all right. So you come to Hawaii, and then at what point do you start thinking, all right, like I want to get into food, maybe become a chef? Because we were just talking before, but you also worked in the pineapple plantations here in Oahu when you were like 16, right? And so, what point did you think, all right, this is maybe something I want to pursue?
Well, actually, you can start working here in Hawaii at
Mm-hmm.
15 years old.
Mm.
So at 15, I worked in Waikiki
Mm-hmm.
at Down the Beachcomber restaurant as a dishwasher.
Mm-hmm.
The problem was, all my friends in school, when I went back to school after summer was over,
Mm-hmm.
they kind of gave me rash about not working with them in the pineapple fields,
Uh-huh.
because they all did.
Right.
And so the second summer, I actually worked in the pineapple fields.
Oh, okay, okay. Huh.
But when you think about a restaurant, there is the front of the house and there's the back of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So if you start at the very bottom as a dishwasher,
Mm-hmm.
you actually could go two ways,
Yeah.
front or back.
Mm-hmm.
If you go in the front, the next step would be busboy.
Mm-hmm.
After busboy, waiter.
Mm-hmm.
Then after waiter, it's up to you. You could be a host, you could be anything else in the restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
including manager.
Right.
Of which I became a manager before I even knew how to flip an egg.
Huh.
So I actually wanted to be a food and beverage manager
Oh.
of the entire hotel.
Uh-huh.
And so one day somebody gave me some good advice.
Yeah.
He says, you see the chef behind the counter over there in the kitchen? He says, if you want to be a food and beverage manager, you want to be a good one, that guy can run circles around. You know nothing of food, you know nothing of the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
So he says you should consider going back to school,
Mm-hmm.
technical school,
Right.
someplace like Kapiolani Community College, and enroll in food service management.
Mm-hmm.
So it took some time, but I did it. I enrolled in school.
Mm-hmm.
And so my first class was cold food pantry and baking.
Mm-hmm.
Now I had a pretty sheltered food life
Mm-hmm.
growing up. I only ate 3 vegetables:
What were they?
peas, corn, and tomato.
Okay.
A short story. I
Yeah.
never liked vegetables.
Oh, really?
Okay,
Uh-huh.
and if you made me eat them, I would throw up.
Oh, wow.
And so my mom knew that, so
Uh-huh.
she didn't make me eat them.
She didn't like cut them up or anything like that?
No. So in the 4th grade, when we moved out to Waipio,
Mm-hmm.
we had a school that you had to show the teacher your plate to make sure you ate everything,
Oh, wow. That's kind of Japanese style.
or a lot of
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
fujikami.
Oh.
And so never before had I had to do that.
Uh-huh.
And so I started putting my vegetables in my milk carton. And
Uh-huh.
after a couple of weeks, she caught me.
Uh-huh.
So then I thought, okay, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
Then I started putting in my pocket.
Oh, my God.
So the carrot sticks, celery sticks were fine.
Uh-huh.
But the cream spinach, the watery coleslaw, and the mushy broccoli, created that wet patch by your pocket.
Uh-huh.
That was me.
Yeah.
That's why my mom doesn't believe that I'm in this business. She wanted me to be a doctor like her father.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Her entire family is in medicine.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
She thought I was going to be in medicine.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't like blood, Mom. size of vegetables.
Right.
And so I think about that every time I butcher something,
Yeah.
and I'm covered in blood because I love to butcher.
Yeah.
You know.
Funny.
So
Yeah.
that was my childhood, not wanting to eat vegetables. Anyway,
Yeah.
being sheltered, I thought bread came out of a package
Right. Yeah.
and salad dressing came out of a bottle.
Yeah.
In fact, if you was to go to a school today and ask a second grader,
Oh yeah.
where does chicken come from, they might tell you Foodland.
Right.
They've never seen vegetables on a farm being grown.
Yeah.
They've never seen animals or livestock or being raised like the way they are.
Yeah.
I was one of them.
Right.
So I'm in this class, and for the first time, I'm baking bread,
Mm-hmm.
pies, and cakes, and making salad dressing from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, wow, this is pretty cool. So I went to culinary school, got a job cooking, got many jobs cooking. It took me to West Virginia to do a culinary apprenticeship after I graduated from culinary school. Took me to New York City. I worked in the best restaurant in America at that time, thinking that, this is going to make me a better food and beverage manager. That I was going to go back into it. But I enjoyed cooking so much I never went back.
Interesting. Huh. So,
but I didn't know.
Yeah.
I did not know.
But I mean, I think it's really interesting that once you got a kind of behind the scenes understanding of how these things are made, then it seems like you developed an appreciation for it as well, right?
You know, I also was a kid that also liked to put together, those plastic airplanes and plastic boats. Those model
like
kits.
model kits, yeah.
Yeah, I loved that, putting things together. But funny thing, I would put them together by instinct. I would never follow instructions.
Did you ever get strange things?
Oh yeah, so things like when it came to the propeller for the boat and the airplane, sometimes the glue was already done and I couldn't put them in.
All right, so you decide, all right, like actually maybe not management, I want to actually be in the kitchen, creating things. So after New York, do you come back to Hawaii? I also read that you worked in Japan for a bit?
After New York City, I went down and I thought if I came back to Hawaii, there weren't many independent restaurants back then. I'd probably end up in a hotel or a resort. I spent all this time cooking, learning how to cook. But I needed to know more about management. So I went down to Florida and I worked at Disney World.
Oh, really? Oh.
Everybody reacted the same way you just did.
Well, I mean, I used to live in Miami, so that's like extra interesting to me, but...
Well, Disney still is a dynamic company.
Yeah.
It's a dynamic corporation.
Yeah.
I did learn a few things.
Okay,
but
cool.
Then after that, I came back to Hawaii. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, and so then you come back and then you try to start the restaurant, or you start working in different places first?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I knew what was in store for me because my chef in New York City said, when you go back to Hawaii, you're going to have to start all over again.
Yeah.
Some people are not going to know where you were working. Even though I was working for him at Lutece, at that time #1 in America, some people are not going to recognize that.
Sure.
So I took a job I couldn't find a job. Nobody would hire me.
Wow.
I was looking for a sous chef's job. And it took 4 months before somebody would hire me.
Wow.
So, my ego took a hit.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie about that. I was already like, I can't find a sous chef's job. Nobody would hire me. I thought I had a pretty good resume. But then I got hired at the Moana Hotel as an executive sous chef. Then moved on to Kauai at the Waiohai Resort. Was the executive sous chef there. Then I got a call to come to Kauai Community College and help open up the Diamond Head campus as a food instructor. So I did that. I did that for 1 year. Then I got a call to go to Maunalani Bay Hotel and Bungalows and open up a brand new restaurant called the Canoe House.
Right.
So that would be 1989 now. And it was at the Canoe House where they just told me, just cook. Cook as much as you can, do what you can, be creative. So it was kind of like in 1989 that I started to cook in this kind of style, where I'm taking all the ethnic influences in Hawaii, combining them with the European French influences that I was trained to do, went to school for, apprenticed for, and my New York City experience was all French.
Right.
And so I combined them. And so that happened naturally for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was there for 5.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then slowly, a friend of mine, Dan Nakasone, called. He would come to the restaurant
Mm-hmm.
twice a year. And every time he would come, he would say, "You ever thought about opening a restaurant in Honolulu?"
Mm.
And every time I would say no. And finally one day I said, okay. So he arranged a dinner
Mm-hmm.
where 3 people would come to dinner. I would cook for them
Mm-hmm.
in hopes of 2 of the 3 investing in me to open up a restaurant in Honolulu.
Right.
So one of the 3 men was Francis Higa.
Mm-hmm.
He is one of the co-founding brothers of Zippy's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so he enjoyed the dinner the most, and he said, I want to do this myself, and
Mm-hmm.
so he's going to be the investor.
Yeah.
So the building the restaurant is in here was actually supposed to be Zippy's new headquarters.
Really?
Their new administrative building where the accountants and everybody was going to be.
Interesting, huh?
They literally had to take the roof, the 3rd floor,
Uh-huh.
cut it in half, and raise it to have a high ceiling
Uh-huh.
for it to have a proper restaurant.
Wow.
So he passed away,
Uh-huh.
unfortunately, but Zippy still owns the building.
Right. Huh.
That's why I'm here.
Gotcha. Huh. And on the website it says like people kind of said like, how are you going to open a place on like a 3rd floor, in this building with no parking and that kind of thing, right? Like, was it tough at the beginning? How'd it go?
Well, they say 2 of the rules are you got to have a restaurant on the ground floor.
Yeah.
And you got to have enough parking.
Yeah.
Right. And then you find out later on that the outdoor circle people say you can't have a sign on the 3rd floor.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have it on the ground floor.
Yeah.
The original name of the building was Macaulay Court,
Mm-hmm.
not Alan Wong's.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so before we opened, we hung a banner up by the garage saying "Coming soon."
Uh-huh.
Alan Wong's restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay. And we opened. Some people ended up in Kapahulu at the old Chevron station where King Street stops.
Mm-hmm.
They'd call and say, "Where are you guys?"
Yeah.
But for the most part, people found us.
Oh, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
We had 2 tiki torches downstairs
Oh, okay.
because I wanted that to symbolize like a luau or a festive place, and here's a restaurant, right?
Right.
Yeah. Problem was after 1 week, somebody stole them. So
Well,
I told the general manager, you got to go replace them, So he replaced it,
yeah. Yeah.
And another week goes by, and somebody stole them again.
Oh my God.
Forget it,
They're very eye-catching, I guess.
So the banner is what did it, right?
Uh-huh.
But fortunately, I believe that what we did at the Canoe House,
Mm-hmm.
There was an annual event called Cuisines of the Sun where media came.
Mm-hmm.
So they not only came to the media event, but they came to the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I finally left the Canoe House, they would go back to the hotel and ask, where did Alan go?
Mm-hmm.
And, if they were in Honolulu, they would come here.
Mm-hmm.
So I was fortunate that way,
Mm.
that people actually found this place,
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
And I think it was perfect timing.
Mm-hmm.
We came here, Russell Seal was open, 3660, Roy's was open,
Mm-hmm.
Roy's is on Hawaii Kai,
Mm-hmm.
and this was the beginning of Hawaii Regional Cuisine.
Yeah.
And we came in at a time where what we did was kind of unique. Not too many people were doing that in town.
Mm-hmm.
You had hotels in Waikiki that were still doing continental food.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we did was unique enough where the media caught on to it, and more media came and talked about what was happening here in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
And so in 1991, while I was still at the Canoe House,
Mm-hmm.
12 chefs got together and formed a group called Hawaii Regional Cuisine, Inc.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a non-profit group,
Mm.
and we had 2 simple goals in mind. Number 1, help develop an agricultural network in the state of Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
We accomplished that by, with the help of the Department of Ag, a booklet was made
Mm-hmm.
with every chef's resources. We had to divulge the farmers, what we bought from them, their telephone numbers, and the fax numbers. There were no emails back then because there were no cell phones back then.
Right.
So we did most of our ordering through faxes.
Ah.
And so when you fast forward that
Yeah.
helped develop an agricultural network in the state of Hawaii to today.
Yeah.
Look at all the farmers markets you have today.
Yeah. Yeah. Every day
Almost
there's something somewhere.
Every day, all over the island, all states, right?
Mm-hmm.
You look at the farmers that we have today,
Mm-hmm.
the most ever along with the most restaurants too.
Mm-hmm.
And so today's cooks, today's chefs have the most amount of locally made, locally produced, locally grown product than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
So I say that was accomplished.
Yeah.
And it seems to be still growing.
Absolutely.
We used to buy a lot of frozen and canned product in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
It's from the 50s and 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Slowly in the 70s, 80s, you start to see farmers grow things that normally only were able to buy in cans and frozen. Now they're growing it, fresh, like hearts and palm.
Mm-hmm.
I remember growing up eating frozen corn and peas,
Mm-hmm.
two vegetables that I can't eat.
Yeah.
Or canned peas,
Uh-huh.
not even green anymore and really soft,
Yeah.
right? That's what we grew up on. The second goal we had in mind was to tell the world that there was a new cuisine happening in Hawaii. Now, what we did was produce a book,
Yeah.
12 chapters. So each chef had a chapter and they did their thing. Basically, it was like an expensive business card that wherever we traveled, we gave this away.
Mm-hmm.
It was called the New Cuisine of Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a new cuisine happening here in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
When you compare to what Hawaii used to be, hotels,
Mm-hmm.
European chefs, continental menus.
Right.
The continental menus can be found the same dishes like duck à l'orange and chateaubriand.
Mm-hmm.
Same in whether you're in New York City, Chicago, San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
That existed here in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Slowly over time, the European chefs were replaced by local chefs,
Mm-hmm.
climbing the ladder.
Right.
Slowly, the restaurants started to adopt newer dishes, more of what we were cooking.
Mm-hmm.
It took a long time, but it happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the past, we would have Italian and French restaurants. I don't know if an Italian chef or a French chef came to Hawaii, they would say that was good or not.
Mm-hmm.
We had ethnic restaurants, and we had the luau,
Right.
which slowly becomes more commercialized.
Mm-hmm.
But there was this emerging new style. So for me, Hawaii regional cuisine is, a style that borrows from all the ethnic influences you find here in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
So to understand that, when we teach our staff, we introduce to them the plantation history.
Right. Yeah,
On
that's
how-
extremely important. Yeah.
On each immigrant came to Hawaii to work the pineapple fields, to work the sugarcane fields.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say my style involves borrowing from all the ethnic influences we find in Hawaii,
Mm-hmm.
we go all the way back to then,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because the Hawaiians used to be the primary workforce
Mm.
for the sugarcane and the pineapple plantation.
Mm-hmm.
But it's documented that at one time, disease decimated 66% of them.
Yeah.
So they had to go to Asia, they had to go somewhere to find help.
Yep. Yeah.
The first place they went to was China.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next immigrants were the Portuguese and the Puerto Ricans.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Japanese came.
Yeah.
And then the original 7, the last 3 were the Okinawans, the Koreans, and the Filipino.
Mm-hmm.
Today there's much more than that.
Yeah.
And so there's a place out in Waipahu, the Hawaii Plantation Village.
Mm-hmm.
We like to take our staff out there
Really? Oh.
because it's a recreation of a village.
Mm-hmm.
So you could walk through a house where all these immigrants lived in,
Mm-hmm.
including a Japanese bath,
Mm-hmm.
a little place where they made the tofu,
Mm-hmm.
a Chinese kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get taken on a tour by a docent
Mm-hmm.
who tells you a story.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's interesting, because we've taken many,
Yeah.
if you get taken around by a Japanese docent versus a Filipino
Yeah.
versus a Portuguese docent, they tell their own ethnic stories.
Oh, okay. So
So you-
reason to go back.
You get the full
Yeah.
thing, And so that's what happened in Hawaii.
Yeah.
But those were the 2 primary goals of the Hawaii Regional Cuisine Inc. guys,
Yeah. Yeah.
to help spread the word that, hey, you can come here now. It's not just the sun and the surf and the beaches and the sights and the
Yeah.
people, but you can also, come and eat at these restaurants now.
Mm-hmm.
There's a long-standing joke that the best food in Hawaii was on the plane over.
Uh-huh.
Let me jump a little bit.
Yeah. Sure.
My life mission as
Yeah.
long as I'm in this business,
Yes.
okay, is to help change the perception of what people think around the world what we eat in Hawaii today.
Yeah.
So people ask me questions, right?
Right.
What we eat in Hawaii. I explain. I tell them the same story I just told you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ask them, what do you think we eat in Hawaii? Right? Then when they cannot answer that question, I know the answer already.
Mm-hmm.
So I answer like this. I say, let me guess. Pineapple on a burger, pineapple on a pizza. It's a Hawaiian burger and a Hawaiian pizza, right?
And some spam, right?
Yes. Yeah, they think we eat spam all day.
Yeah.
I drink Hawaiian punch and watch Hawaii Five-O all day.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
This is the perception.
I know. No, I've seen it. Yes, I know.
Okay? Well, number one,
Yeah.
just because we're from Hawaii doesn't mean that we're Hawaiian.
Yeah.
Now, I have Hawaiian blood.
Uh-huh.
I'm Japanese, Chinese, Hawaiian.
Yes.
Okay? But just because you're from Hawaii doesn't mean that you're
Exactly.
Hawaiian. Just because you eat at a restaurant in Hawaii doesn't mean you went to go eat Hawaiian food.
Right.
You know, the Hawaiians are its own ethnic group. And so that's why it's called Hawaii Regional Cuisine,
Mm-hmm.
not Hawaiian Regional Cuisine.
Right.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And so what we eat here in Hawaii is very diverse. We have so many cultures here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's very modern, contemporary. You
Mm-hmm.
could have something traditional, ethnic. You could have something very different, you know, contemporary on the cutting edge.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a wild mix. It's pretty a cosmopolitan place.
Yeah. Yeah.
People don't know that.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And I came to Hawaii like 5 years ago, and it was very interesting learning, like, oh, mochiko chicken, for example, right? Like, I've never seen this in Japan, and, I realized, oh, this is kind of like an adaptation of something from Japan, like kind of like karaage chicken, but like the local version sort of thing, right? And all these little dishes, be it from Korea or from Japan, like just this influence, or saimin, right? That dates back to like the plantation days of just all the immigrants putting like in one pot, right? Making this noodle dish.
Exactly. We have so many hybrid dishes here.
Yeah.
You know, like you can find teriyaki beef in Japan today, but 20 years ago you couldn't find it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, it came from Hawaii and it went back to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Try ordering Chinese beef broccoli in China. You can't find it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Chinese chicken salad in China, no more.
Right.
Or in Hawaii they make certain Korean dishes that you can't find in Korea.
Right.
You know, like the meat chan, hard to find.
Yeah. True.
So these become an adaptation because from the plantation times, people need to eat to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And you get tired of eating the same food.
Sure.
So they got creative in their own way using what they had.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think the Portuguese would not think the Portuguese bean soup we serve here,
Mm-hmm.
it's not Portuguese to them.
Right.
First of all, when they started making that back then, it came from a poor time. They didn't have the ham hocks and the sausage. They had bone to boil.
Right.
And they made do with what they had.
Yeah.
That's how that's how these hybrid things actually happen.
Yeah.
Or they tasted something, they heard about something, they don't know how to do it, and they do it.
Yeah.
And
They figure out a way,
It
right?
comes out this way.
Yeah.
Right?
And
So-
then that becomes the norm.
That is why Pidgin English is the language of Hawaii.
Yeah.
know?
It works, right? You need something to get it done, and you find a way to do it, right?
And if you don't understand, you just say it anyway, and that becomes Pidgin.
Right. I'm curious about starting a restaurant in Japan. So you started, I believe it was in Maihama in 2001. You had a restaurant over there. And now you go to Japan and you see like pancake shops and Hawaiian burgers and Hawaiian this, Hawaiian that. Like people love Hawaii. Hawaii food is all over the place, quote unquote, right? But back then, I wasn't in Japan at the time, but I get the impression that it wasn't anywhere near like what it is now. So what was that experience like? What were some of the challenges that you faced through that?
First of all,
Mm-hmm.
I think there are these common threads in life,
Yeah.
right? Music,
Mm-hmm.
art, dance, food.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of credit a lot of the things that came from Hawaii and went to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Things like hula.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hula caught on. You have halaos in Japan.
Yeah.
The music
Mm-hmm.
has gone to Japan, and the Japanese love Hawaiian music.
Mm-hmm.
And same with the food.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, like you said, you see malasada shops, you see things like eggs and things and all
Yeah.
that kind of thing. You see that in Japan now more than ever before.
Yeah.
We had a restaurant there from 2000 to 2010
Mhm.
at Maihama in Ikspiari,
Mhm.
which was a new shopping center right outside of Tokyo Disneyland.
Mhm.
In fact, the owners were the owners of the entire Disneyland,
Oh, okay.
Oriental Land Company.
Right.
And so, had we gone to Japan today,
Mhm.
I'm sure it would have been different
Right.
because a lot of Japanese people are more familiar with local Hawaii things now,
Sure.
you know? But you never know. Maybe we were pioneers.
I think you were. Absolutely.
Back then, I know Roy Yamaguchi had a restaurant there,
Uh-huh.
and I think I was there. And so there weren't many Hawaii food shops back then
Yeah.
at that time.
Huh.
But you learn as you go.
Mhm. So, all right. Let's see. Um, I also was reading that in one of your restaurants, I think it was called Amazia. I'm not quite sure the pronunciation. I'm sorry, but
Amasia.
Okay. You had like a dish based on leche de tigre, which is of course found in Peruvian cuisine. I'm very curious about like you went to Peru, I believe. What did you do over there? How did that come about? What did you find out?
Because you are from Peru.
I am from Peru. My parents are originally from Peru, and I was born in the U.S., but I still go back every so often.
They're still there?
Actually, they are, yeah. Actually, they retired and they're living there.
In Lima.
We have a lot of family in Lima, but they're actually north, like about 7 hours driving. So, but they still go to Lima pretty often.
We just came back from there.
Really? I was there this year, but in February. But
We were there in February.
Yeah.
We went to Lima
Uh-huh.
and Machu Picchu.
Yeah, we were in Machu Picchu too. Yeah.
Cusco.
Yeah.
And then actually it was a part of a cruise.
Uh-huh.
That was a pre-cruise that took us down to Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay.
Oh, very cool. So how did you get interested in that?
I was invited to be a guest chef in Lima
Mm-hmm.
at a restaurant called La Rosa Nautica.
Oh, I've been there. Yeah, I know that place.
It's a restaurant out on kind of the sea,
Yeah.
the ocean.
Yeah, very famous for seafood, right? Right in the ocean.
Restaurants are right there.
Yeah.
You have to walk out on the pier.
Yeah.
And so the chef there was Gonzalo Ferran.
Oh, okay.
And so he taught me his version of ceviche.
Uh-huh.
Now, I would not have called myself an expert on ceviche up until that time.
Yeah.
I think it was Mexican style ceviche
Mm-hmm.
that I grew up on.
Yeah, I think
knew.
most people get exposed to that first here in the U.S. Yeah.
And it's a kind where the fish is marinated in lime juice so it's almost cooked through.
Mm-hmm.
So it's well done almost.
Mm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, it wasn't my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up on sashimi
Sure.
of all kinds and poke, where the poke is fresh and you can still taste the freshness of the fish.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this one was just too cooked for me.
Yeah.
And so along comes Gonzalo.
Mm-hmm.
I make poke for him, and it was this back and forth thing. Whatever I made for him, he made something back for me. So I make him poke.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's important to know that the Japanese came to Peru.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They came
Yeah.
there to work.
Yeah, I have cousins that are half Japanese. Yeah.
So their influence on some of their national dishes like ceviche is profound.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they actually have a Nikkei cuisine, right?
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
it's the Japanese Peruvian kind of a fusion.
Fusion. Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
the Chinese did come over there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they have chifa, which is their own fusion of
They have more
Chinese.
chifas than they have
Oh
here.
my God, it's all over the place, and
Right?
it's very good.
But it's hybrid Chinese food
Yeah.
because they made it to satisfy the locals there,
Right.
right? So anyway, so Gonzalo makes this ceviche. He takes the raw fish,
Mm-hmm.
and his lime juice, his Peruvian limes, actually sit on it for only less than a minute.
Yeah.
So it's like eating ceviche. I mean, it's like eating sashimi
Mm-hmm.
bathed in citrus.
Yeah.
Then he added his other ingredients like the
Maybe rocoto, the pepper.
ai rocoto.
Yeah.
He had the onions, the red onions,
Uh-huh.
the cilantro,
Right.
and this was so different for me,
Yeah.
right? Then he explained the leche de tigre, the milk
Milk of the tiger is literally what it
on
means,
the
right?
bottom,
Yeah.
okay? And so, he originally said, if you get a hangover, that's good the next morning, right?
That's what they say.
The eye
Yeah.
of the tiger, right?
Yeah.
And so I took that idea
Uh-huh.
and I created many variations
Uh-huh.
where I would blend most things. So I would blend the lime juice.
Yeah.
I would blend it with the red onion and the citrus.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you see recipes where they add the fish to the blender to give it that little fishy kind of smell.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So imagine you do the same technique
Mm-hmm.
and then you blend in uni
Right.
and then you add in yuzu.
Yuzu, yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Or you add blend in coconut milk
Uh-huh.
and then you add more lime juice to make that balance of fat and acid.
Yeah.
And then you put it to different kinds of fish and shellfish,
Mm-hmm.
and you have something going on here,
Yeah. Oh, that sounds so good.
right? And so they eat this thing called choclos, right?
Choclo, yeah, which are like these big, they're like corn, but with these big kernels.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
Yeah.
And so maybe instead of that, because we can't find that one here,
Yeah.
you just use fresh corn from Kahuku,
Mm-hmm. Ah,
you know?
okay.
And they serve it with ceviche with these sweet potatoes.
Yeah.
They're cooked with cinnamon and things like that, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I serve them with Okinawan purple sweet potato
Uh-huh.
or the Japanese sweet potato.
Yeah.
So you see how
Yeah.
I kind of sub in and sub out and kind of make my own deal here.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
the bottom line is the flavor profile is slightly spicy
Yeah.
and very acidic.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite chilies is the ají amarillo.
Ají amarillo, yellow pepper, I guess is literally what it means, but yeah, ají amarillo is what we call it.
But Gonzalo showed me a lot of things, and I learned a lot of things from Peru.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
And
yeah.
they have a lot of things in common, with what we do here in Hawaii.
Ah, okay.
Number one, not a lot of butter and cream.
True. Yeah.
A lot of the Asian countries don't use a lot of butter and cream.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the South American countries don't eat a lot of butter and cream.
Yeah, I mean, now that you mention it, yeah, I would say so.
It's mostly the European influence.
Mm-hmm.
And the food tends to be vibrant,
Mm-hmm.
bold flavors.
Yeah.
And the beverages are similar.
Mm-hmm.
Here we drink a lot of beer,
Mm-hmm.
sake,
Mhm.
shochu. Those things go well with this kind of food.
Yeah.
Like when you go to San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
The food might be subtle if you don't drink wine with it, but then when you think about it, you're close to wine country.
Mm-hmm.
They make food with wine in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Huh. Well, I would have loved to have been able to try that, the uni leche de tigre.
It's great as a shot by itself too.
Yeah.
But on this past trip, we finally got to try the cuy.
Cuy! Oh, you tried cuy! That's guinea pig. Yeah. What did you think?
To me, it tastes like duck.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Crispy skin on the outside, usually, if it's roasted, right?
Or the meat is like the duck leg confit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh.
Not bad, not bad.
Yeah. Oh, it's a special occasion food. It's not something that they eat every day. So.
Actually, yeah, special occasion. We thought they eat it every day.
Uh-huh.
We actually went to a house where they were running around on the floor.
Yeah, when I was little, I've lived in houses like that.
But they explain it's only for special occasions. Let's say
Yeah.
a guest comes over and you cook one, or
Yeah.
somebody's birthday or something like that. It's not an everyday food. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like a lot of times, the kitchen will have a little pen, and there's a few there, and you just keep them almost like pets until it's time to eat one. All right. So, just a couple more questions as we're wrapping up. But I'm curious about the experience of cooking for the White House, right? You did a luau back when President Obama was at the White House. How does that work? Like, is there a Secret Service guy in the kitchen? Like, how does that go?
It's Navy.
Uh-huh.
They're in the kitchen.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
First of all, President Obama was in office,
Uh-huh.
and about the end of his first year,
Mhm.
just like the local tradition, you throw a Hawaiian luau
Mhm.
for the baby's first birthday, something like that.
Mhm.
And so that's what happened.
Mm.
He asked us to go provide the food.
Mm.
We were supposed to prepare sort of like a new wave luau
Mhm.
type thing, and then he flew in some entertainers and the whole thing, and all of Congress and their families, over 21,000 people. No, not 21,000, over 2,100 people.
Oh, okay.
Came on,
That's still a lot.
on the south lawn, and we fed them. So the Navy
Yeah.
does most of their food things.
Uh-huh.
So when it comes to this restaurant in the beginning, there will always be 1 or 2 Navy personnel in the kitchen
Ah.
to make sure that the food is safe to eat.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Think in the Roman days when somebody drank Caesar's wine
Uh-huh.
and he died.
Right.
You always have a taste tester.
Yeah.
So when you get there, the Army does the transportation. We were
Mhm.
picked up by the Army.
Mm.
And the Air Force, they do as part of the transportation too, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the helicopters and Air Force One and the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the Navy would take care of the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
So besides the people in the kitchen at the White House, this is in their residence,
Mm-hmm.
right below where they live, we had the help of some Navy people come help pull us off.
Mm.
And so it was really, really a surreal experience
Mm-hmm.
that you're cooking in the kitchen right below where they're sleeping,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and once in a while he would come down. A
Yeah.
couple times he did, you know, he passed by.
Yeah.
And they had a dog. His name was Bo. I
Bo,
think.
yeah.
We'd see the
Yeah.
dog because they
Uh-huh.
would take him out for a walk.
Yeah.
But whenever you see the helicopter land on the south lawn and just walk into the house,
Yeah.
that's where we were. That's where the party was.
Huh.
You know, we had 14 of us come,
Uh-huh.
and I tried to bring as many as I could,
Yeah.
even if they weren't in the kitchen,
Right.
because I knew that they would remember this for the rest of their life.
Of course. Yeah.
And it was that kind of an event.
So how does that? Do you get a letter inviting you to go do that? Do you remember how that happened?
Yeah, I thought it was a prank. I didn't
Wow.
think much of it because I thought,
This can't be real.
somebody pulling my leg here, you know.
Yeah.
And then slowly we checked it out, and it was true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
I couldn't
cool.
believe it. Because he used to come here, right?
Yeah.
He came here as a senator
Oh,
before
okay.
he was even president-elect.
To the restaurant, you mean, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then he came here as president-elect, and he kept on coming here every year in his
Oh,
in
that's
office
great.
because
Yeah, I remember he would
actually-
come visit.
he
Yeah.
actually, you know, rents a place out in Kailua
Mm-hmm.
for his yearly Christmas vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And he still does that.
Yeah.
So he came in last year.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool. That's very cool. Right, so last question. I'm wondering if you have any restaurants in Japan. I assume you must go somewhat regularly, or maybe there's a restaurant that you remember that you're particularly fond of, some particular meal that you remember. Could you share some memories on that?
You know, our restaurant was a 10-year deal, so
Uh-huh.
it's over 2000 to 2010.
Right.
But if you can imagine, that restaurant brought me back to Japan,
Uh-huh.
and it would have been 39 years
Uh-huh.
after I was born
Yeah.
before I would finally set foot
Uh-huh.
where I was born.
Oh, wow. You hadn't been back.
No, I left Japan in 1961.
Right, and then you never went back until you went to start the restaurant.
The first time they called me to come
Yeah.
so that we could talk story
Wow.
and do the business part of the deal.
Uh-huh.
That was chicken skin for me. You
Uh-huh.
know what chicken skin is?
It's goosebumps, right?
Yeah.
In Hawaii we say chicken skin. Yeah, but mainland they say goosebumps. Yeah.
Yeah. And so my first thing was, besides doing that,
Uh-huh.
I wanted to eat everything in Japan
Yeah.
that I ate in Hawaii
Uh-huh.
to compare
Right,
how
right,
it
right.
was.
Yeah.
And of course I didn't find teriyaki beef, right?
Right.
And so things as simple as eating ramen in Japan,
Uh-huh.
curry,
Yeah.
tonkatsu, tempura, all soba,
Yeah.
you know? You're not going to find saimin in Japan.
Nope.
It's only over here, right?
Yeah.
And so that was a big, big learning curve for me,
Mm-hmm.
rediscovering my roots.
Right.
No different than when we opened in Shanghai.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of rediscovering my Chinese roots.
Right, your father's side.
That's why I
right?
can tell you there's no beef broccoli in China.
Right.
And kind of like living here in Hawaii growing up,
Uh-huh.
you know, you grow up attending a lot of potlucks
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
where everybody brings different, you know, ethnic foods,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so you grow up eating it,
Mm-hmm.
but you never really know if it's the real deal.
Right.
You never know whether this is just the word hybrid doesn't exist when you're growing up.
Yeah. Is it really supposed to taste this way, right?
You know, you don't know.
Uh-huh.
This is what you know.
Yeah.
And unless somebody tells you,
Exactly.
this is it.
Yeah.
Right? So when you eat shoyu chicken, that's all you know.
Yeah.
And so I've had many, many memorable meals.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the owners of the restaurant, they were really, really gracious,
Mm-hmm.
and they understood that the more they taught me by taking me out,
Mm-hmm.
not only to restaurants but cultural things,
Right.
the more ingredients they exposed me to, they knew that I would learn and make the food better.
That's
That's
wonderful.
what happened over 10 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Plus, we had a little exchange here.
Mm-hmm.
Not only would I go there at least 3 times a year,
Mm-hmm.
they would come 3 times a year.
Oh, really?
They would bring
Oh.
one chef and one front of the house person
Mm-hmm.
for a week here.
Oh, that's cool. Oh.
Initially, they allowed one of my chefs and manager
Mm-hmm.
to live in Japan for 3 months
Wow.
to make sure the quality was consistent.
Yeah.
But can you imagine living someplace for 3 months,
Yeah.
what it does to you to learn about another culture?
Yeah, that's amazing. And like working in a situation like a kitchen, which is like you're always on. There's always like pressure. You're always like have to depend on other people and, provide them things. They're asking you to do stuff. Like that's an amazing learning experience.
And so when they come back and I got to replace them,
Yeah.
they come back a little bit different. Hopefully a little bit more worldly,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
little bit more appreciative of what they have,
yeah.
a little bit more appreciative of what other people do.
Uh-huh.
New ingredients,
Yeah.
met new friends, some friends for life.
Yeah.
It was a really wonderful thing.
Yeah.
But many, many restaurant experiences,
yeah.
many that were helping to shape who I
Yeah.
was going to be.
Are you aware, like, how is the kitchen culture in Japan? Like, how is it working in a kitchen? Is it different from here? Like, have you seen that firsthand?
The first adjustment is
Mhm.
everything's smaller.
Mm.
The stove is smaller. All the cooking equipment is smaller.
Mm-hmm.
It's more economically, the space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And for the most part, a lot of the Japanese workers are not very big people either.
Mm-hmm.
So it works.
Mm-hmm.
The ingredients are always different.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I asked for was I asked for a whole bunch of proteins.
Mm-hmm.
Beef, chicken, fish especially,
Mm-hmm.
pork. And
Yeah.
I just wanted to taste it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that wherever you go in the world, the most simplest thing, you have to know what the salt level is for every place you go.
Mm-hmm.
So I found Japan's salt level not as high as Hawaii.
Right. Yeah.
Their sugar level not as high.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Japanese people thought our desserts were too sweet.
Right. Right. Right.
I think they think the desserts in America are overall too sweet.
Yes. Yes. I think so.
So if you go to Paris, France, the sweetness over there
Mm-hmm.
is on par with Tokyo's desserts.
Oh, interesting.
So you think about where they are in relation to the equator.
Mm-hmm.
All these warm countries
Yeah.
have similarities into salt level,
Mm-hmm.
sugar level,
Mm.
chili pepper,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Like in Lima,
Exactly.
it can get hot.
Yep.
So the chilies work,
Mm-hmm.
just like in India,
Yeah.
just like in Hawaii.
So that
And
part of it is food preservation, I assume, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
I mean, like, part of the curry thing,
Mm-hmm.
it can hide a lot of off smells or
Mhm.
not high quality ingredients, right?
Mm-hmm.
You add chilies to something, it's going to hide a lot of things.
Yeah. Oh.
Like kimchi in Korea.
True. Yeah.
Not all of it used to be spicy.
Mm-hmm.
There's this thing called white kimchi.
Oh.
Almost tastes like tsukemono,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
but it's fermented, has a little acid to it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But when you get inferior cabbage, you add chilies to it.
Right.
The kalbi is not always sweet like Hawaii's one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But when you get inferior meat, when you put the sugar on top and the shoyu on top,
You can't
hide
tell,
that.
right? Yeah. True.
These are the tricks that are really just survival
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
in dealing with what you have in front of you.
Yeah. Making it work, right? Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for your time today. It was wonderful talking to you.
We can talk for some more,
We can. We definitely can. But I know. I think you got plenty of other things to do. So we'll just cut it off here.
It was nice
Thank
to
you very
meet
much.
you. It was nice
Yeah.
to spend time with you.
Likewise.
Good luck to you.
All right.
Aloha.
Again, thank you so much to Chef Alan. I had a wonderful time talking to you. Thank you for all the funny stories and the inspiring story, too. I'm going to include information for Alan Wong's Honolulu in the description, so you can go check out all the links and all that stuff there. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Wasabi YouTube channel, because we're going to have more episodes of this soon. So if you subscribe and ring that notification bell, you will not miss a single episode of this Wasabi Interviews YouTube series. I really, really hope you guys are enjoying this. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Read Wasabi. If you have any suggestions or ideas for future interviews, you can, of course, leave us a comment or even email us at mail@readwasabi.com. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back soon with another Wasabi interview.